I just listened to both albums by Tin Machine, and here are my thoughts. So I only heard about Tin Machine a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks ago, when I was finishing up going through David Bowie, and that is because Tin Machine is a David Bowie side project. So after David Bowie's 80s albums, he had Let's Dance in 83, which was a strong album, and then Tonight and Never Let Me Down, which if you watch my last video, I thought were kind of weaker albums comparatively. It seems that David Bowie had some similar feelings. He specifically wanted to form this separate group, this separate band, in order to revitalize his career, revitalize his creativity, which I think showed on a lot of his following albums after his two Tin Machine albums. But obviously, Tin Machine was not a one-man band. You had Reeves Gabrels, I don't know how to pronounce that. You had him on guitar. You had two brothers handling the rhythm section. You had Tony Fox Sales on bass, and then Hunt Sales on drums. Reeves really shines as a skilled instrumentalist here. Across both albums, his guitar playing is really surprisingly good, to the point where I would consider him to be a bit of an underrated guitar hero. I looked up the albums that he played on throughout his career, because obviously this wasn't the only thing he had done, and I learned that he had a big hand in most David Bowie albums after Tin Machine formed and broke up. So that was nice to see. He had a nice long career with David Bowie. So Tin Machine's first album was released in 1989, and this album shined in a big way. So Tin Machine is primarily focused on a hard rock sound, like a classic hard rock sound, and this album had so many really good songs on it. This was a great album. If you watched my last video, my David Bowie video, and towards the end you saw the list of albums, I would fit this one somewhere in the top third of my David Bowie list. You get a really strong kind of triple combo with this album, in that it starts with three incredibly great songs. Heaven's in Here is the first song, is one of the lead singles from the album. The title track, Tin Machine, comes up next. Of course, very good. And then the third song, Prisoner of Love, is so good. So much better than I thought it was going to be. It's not always easy to get me on a ballad. Sometimes I think they're boring, sometimes I think they're cheesy. This one was just brimming with authentic artistry, and I just think they hit the nail on the head with this one. All three of these songs, really, and they really keep it going, because out of the next several songs, a little bit past the first half, the halfway mark of the album, most of these songs are great. So track 4, Crack City, loved it, high energy, all throughout. Track 5 kicks in, called I Can't Read, and I was listening to it and I thought it was just okay. It kind of broke the momentum of the album, and I was like, oh no, what if the first 4 tracks is the only thing this album has to offer? Then they very quickly bring it back with maybe the best song on the album, which was Under the God. They keep it going with songs that are at least solid. Track 8 is a cover of John Lennon's Working Class Hero. And so, of course, lyrically, and it's a cover of that, but musically, I had noticed that it took some inspiration, whether intentionally or not, I don't know, but it took some inspiration from Another Brick in the Wall, which I thought was interesting, kind of combining those two great anti-capitalist songs that go great together, I guess. The final third of the album, more or less, is a little bit of a step down, but the song Sacrifice Yourself pops up on here, which is responsible for keeping the album's momentum up this late into the album. All the songs surrounding it, like Bus Stop or Baby Don't Dance or something. Sorry, I just double checked. It's Baby Can Dance. These songs I had heard and I thought, oh, that's okay. That's a pretty cool song. Nothing on here that I really disliked. But yeah, of the final third of the album, Sacrifice Yourself was the one that really stood out to me. Unfortunately, at least in my opinion, they did not keep this energy going up through their second album, which was released in 1991. The first 3 songs on this album are its 3 singles. Only one of them really stood out to me, and that was track 2, One Shot. Track 1 and track 3 were okay, I guess, but offered nothing to really stand out to me. Then I got to track 4, which is called If There Is Something, and I was listening to it and I thought, oh, this is really good. But when I looked up the album after I was finished with it, I found this was a cover from a band called Roxy Music, which I had never listened to before, although they are already on my list of bands to get through. That is, there's like 170 bands on there right now. So yeah, like, it was enjoyable to listen to, but one of the things I'm looking for when I listen to an album is like, how much creativity and originality did you bring? How much value did you really add with bringing this? So, covers are all fun and good, but a lot of times I just prefer listening to the original. So the other 2 songs from this album that mainly stood out to me were track 5, Am La Pura, and then track 12, Goodbye Mr. Ed. These tracks are both a little on the softer side, really, really melodic, and that's something that I liked about it. Track 8, Stateside, was also a pretty good song. Really bluesy, kind of a good road trip song. Actually, this one is not sung by David Bowie, one of 2 songs on this album that are not. I believe it is sung by Hunt Sales. He at least wrote it. He's credited as the writer. I believe he's the one singing it, although that's not showing up, at least not obviously, on Wikipedia. Everything else just kind of came and went, I guess. There were a few songs like Shopping for Girls or The Big Hurt, where some of David Bowie's more art rock influence I heard kind of bleeding in. And, none of these were bad songs. They just were pretty boring, I guess. It had sounded like they were checked out. It had sounded like they just wrote whatever they needed to fit their formula and then put it out. So yeah, that's what I thought of these 2 Tin Machine albums. It's nice to go through a band that only has 2 albums. I have so much more time to go track by track rather than trying to cover 30 albums within a 10-minute time frame. I have one more quick side project band that I'm going to make a video on, and then I'm going to start making my way through AC/DC. I'm pretty sure that's what I've decided. So thanks for watching, and hey, since I have some free time at the end of this video, I can do that thing I used to do where I play a quick clip of my favorite songs. So here are a few of my favorite Tin Machine songs.